Greetings, peace, and power, elevation be to all the beautiful people out there. As you can see, that's my logo right there. This is Tiffany coming through right here live in effect. So today I'm gonna get into the subject about Latasha Harlins. Latasha Harlins was a young lady that was killed in Los Angeles, California at the age of 15 years old on March 16th of 1991 at a convenience store that was owned by a Korean owner named Soon Da Jun or Soon Jun Da. So she was a Korean owner, and I guess according to the video image, she thought Latasha was stealing, and so and she put her hands on the little girl, and so of course the girl was fighting back, and that's when she pulled the gun and shot her. So ever since then, people felt that was racially motivated because a Korean woman getting away with killing a African American girl, which started about a riot, and then around that time, 1992, that following year, Rodney King was beaten by the police. So it really sparked the whole riot in LA and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show some information, and I'm going to also show a video clip that's regarding to the documentary about this young lady's life. All right, so for you guys that have been on my YouTube channel, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for hitting the notification bell. Thank you for sharing this channel and all this great stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure I record this video for you all, so those who's unable to watch it, you guys can watch it at your own time, and that's that. So let me go ahead and let me get started with the information. Post it up. All right, so as you can see right here on the right-hand corner, this is the picture of Latasha Harlins. And who was she? Well, let's find out more. So as you can see, the title say The Killing of Latasha Harlins. So now I'm going to explain why I am getting on this topic on this video, because there was a recent incident that took place in Atlanta where 8 Asian people was killed by a white person, and which was tragic. It was a massacre. And of course, they were Chinese. They weren't Korean, but they were Chinese people, but they were Asians, of course. Either way, it sparks up a debate between African Americans and Asian people. So the question was, why is there no solidarity coming from the African American community? And the question we have is, well, where was the solidarity coming from the Asian community when it came down to the African American community? So this, what I'm going to use as an example to explain why there isn't a solidarity between African Americans and Asian Americans, or those of Asian descent. Okay? Because see, when the Asians come into our community, they come and do their business, they get their resources, and they get gone. They don't think about putting economic back into our neighborhoods, or help building our neighborhoods, or help building schools, and getting better education quality for us. Majority of them don't care. You know what I'm saying? They focus more so on their family and focus on their generational wealth. So now let's go ahead and look at the story about Latasha Harlins. So since we're on this debate about the Asians versus African Americans, and that the lack of solidarity they're receiving. All right, let's go back and look at her story. So Latasha Harlins was born on January the 1st of 1976, and she died on March 16th in 1991. She was 15-year-old African-American girl who was killed by Soon Ja-dun, a 51-year-old Korean American convenience store owner. Dude was tried and convicted of voluntary manslaughter in Harlan's death. Although the maximum sentences was 16 years, Judge Joyce Carlin sentenced Dude to time served, 5 years of probation, 400 hours of community service, and $500 restitution and funeral expenses. The death of Latasha Harlins, which was recorded on security footage, and the later sentencing and failed appeal are considered to have contributed to the 1992 LA riots, especially the targeting of Koreatown, Los Angeles. Harlins' death came 13 days after the videotaping beating of Rodney King. Now, check this out. Early life, she was born in East St. Louis, Illinois, to Crystal Harlan and Sylvester Vester Akoff Sr. Latasha had one younger brother, Vester Akoff Jr., and one younger sister, Christina. The family moved from Illinois to South Central LA in 1981. When Latasha was 6 years old, her father took a job in a steel foundry while her mother worked as a waitress in a local tavern. They lived near 89th Street and Broadway, just a few blocks from where Latasha would have been killed 10 years later. All right, Akoff Sr. was known to be abusive towards Crystal Harlins, attacking her in front of Latasha and her younger siblings. Their unstable marriage eventually ended in 1983. On November 27, 1985, Crystal was brutally shot dead outside a Los Angeles nightclub by Cora Mae Anderson, Akoff's new girlfriend, leaving Latasha and her younger siblings in the care of their maternal grandmother, Ruth Harlins. The death of her mother had a devastating impact on Latasha, who began to rebel and argue with her maternal grandmother and her maternal aunt, Denise. At the time of her death, Latasha was a student at Westchester High School. So she already made a transition from East St. Louis, Illinois to LA because her parents wanted to find better job opportunity and better living for their children. However, things had turned out to be corrupted and tragic, where her mother ended up getting killed by her father's new girlfriend. She was shot and killed. So, which that left her to be raised by a grandmother. And of course, like any other young teenager who without their parents, they're going to have some form of rebellious attitude and not care or not value life, because they feel at that young age, you losing a parent and you don't have somebody around you, you're going to have some type of anger and resentment. So she had some form of resentment towards her grandmother, her maternal grandmother. It wasn't her grandmother's fault, but it was because of the fact that her mother was no longer there. She just felt like nothing else really mattered to her. But let's continue. So let's talk about how her death came about. So soon Jadu's store, Empire Liquor, located at the intersection of 91st Street and Figueroa Avenue, Vermont, Vesta, Los Angeles, was normally staffed by Dude's husband and son. However, on the morning of the shooting, Dude was working behind the counter and her husband was outside resting in the family van. Shortly before 10 a.m. on Saturday, March 16, Harlins entered the store. Dude observed Harlan putting a $1.79 bottle of orange juice in her backpack. Dude concluded Harlins was attempting to steal and did not see the money Harlins held in her hand. Dude claimed to have asked Harlins if she intended to pay for the orange juice, to which Dude claimed Harlins responded, "What orange juice?" Two eyewitnesses, 9-year-old Ismaili Ali and his 13-year-old sister, Lakeisha Cobbs, disputed that claim, saying that Dude called Harlins a bitch and accused her of trying to steal, to which they claim Harlins replied that she intended to pay for the orange juice. After speaking with the two eyewitnesses present and viewing the videotape of the incident recorded by a store security camera, the police concluded that Harlan intended to pay for the beverage with money in hand. The videotape showed that dude grabbed Harlins by her sweater and snatched her backpack. Harlins then struck dude with her fist twice, knocking dude to the ground. After Harlins backed away, dude angrily threw a stool at her. Harlins then picked up the orange juice bottle that dropped during the scuffle. Dude snatched the bottle from her and Harlan turned to leave. Dude reached under the counter, retrieved a revolver, and fired at Harlins from behind at a distance of about 3 feet, 1 meter. The gunshot struck Harlins in the back of the head, killing her instantly. Dude's husband, Billy Hung Ki-do, heard the gunshot and rushed into the store. After speaking to his wife, who asked for the whereabouts of Harlins before fainting, he dialed 911 to report an attempted holdup. So now you get the gist of the story. So basically, this woman accused a young African American female of stealing, and she tried to say that the girl was not trying to pay, but there was two eyewitnesses saying that this woman, this Asian woman, this Korean woman called this girl a bitch. She called this young lady a bitch. And grabbed her. And then the camera showed that she grabbed this young lady. They seen that the girl was trying to pay. So the store owner grabbed her by her backpack and grabbed her by her sweater. And so in defense of herself, like she was supposed to, she knocked the hell out of this lady. And the lady got mad. And what did she do? Of course, she retrieved the weapon and she killed this girl. She took this girl's life. So now let's go ahead and let's continue. So what was the trial? Dude testified on her behalf, claiming that the shooting was in self-defense and that she believed her life was in danger. But her testimony was contradicted by the statements of the two witnesses present at the time, as well as the store security camera video, which showed dude shooting Harlins in the back of the head as the teenager turned away from dude and attempted to leave the store. The Los Angeles Police Department ballistics report also found that the handgun dude used was altered in such a way that it required much less pressure on the trigger to fire than an ordinary handgun. Now it goes on to talk about the decision and sentence. On November the 15th, 1991, a jury found that dude's decision to fire the gun was fully within her control and that she fired the gun voluntarily. The jury found dude guilty of voluntary manslaughter, an offense that carries a maximum prison sentence of 16 years. However, the trial judge, Joyce Carlin, sentenced dude to 5 years of probation, 10 years of suspension, prison, 400 hours of community service, and $500 fine. And then you want to know why the riot took place. This is why the riot happened, because this woman gets 5 years of probation, 10 years of suspension prison, 400 hours of community service, and $500 fine. This ain't happen. Riots don't happen just for no reason, okay? People don't just protest for no reason or riot for no reason. This is one of the reasons why, because of the injustice that has taken place during that time period. But let's continue. And Judge Carlin suggested that there were mitigating circumstances in Harlan's death. She stated, did Mrs. Dew reacted inappropriately? Absolutely. But was that reaction understandable? I think that it was, Carlin added. This is not a time for revenge, and no matter what sentence this court imposes, Mrs. Dew will be punished every day for the rest of her life. The court also stated that Dew shot Harlins under extreme provocation and duress and deemed it unlikely that Dew would ever commit a serious crime again. Furthermore, Carlin deemed that Dew's capacity to act rationally in the situation was undermined by her experience with past robberies. So here it is, the California Court of Appeal. A state appeals court later unanimously upheld Judge Carlin sentenced decision 3-0 on April the 21st, 1992, about a week before the LA riots. In July of 1992, the Harlin family was awarded $300,000 in settlement. That ain't even enough money. That's not even enough money for all the heartache and pain that has taken place. Now, here's the effects. The incident and reduced sentence by the court exacerbated the existing tensions between African American residents and Asian American merchants in South Central LA. Those tensions were later interpreted by some members of the public and activists as being one of the catalysts for the 1992 Los Angeles riots. The Los Angeles mayor's office estimated that 65% of all businesses vandalized during the riots were Korean owned, not black owned. Let me read that again for the people in the back. The Los Angeles mayor's office estimated that 65% of all businesses vandalized during the riots were Korean owned. On August 17, 1991, while Du was awaiting trial, a small fire occurred at her store. During the 1992 riots, Du's store was looted and burnt down, and it never reopened. The property later became a market under different ownership. Latasha Harlins is buried next to her mother in Paradise Memorial Park, Santa Fe Spring, California. So, of course, at that time, Tupac Shakur, he spoke a lot about that in his lyrics. In the song "Keep Your Head Up," he dedicated the song to Latasha Harlins. Of course, "Something to Die For," Thug's Mansion. And it says, "I Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto," "The White Man's World," "Hellraiser." So, if you guys want to look up more information, here's the reference down here at the bottom of the page. Let's see what they talking about here under Joyce Carlin. So Joyce Carlin, in the case, proponent LA County District Attorney Ira Reiner to instruct his deputies to effectively bar Judge Carlin from trying cases by invoking a statute to remove a judge for any reason. And justifying his directive, he said this was such a stunning miscarriage of justice that Judge Carlin cannot continue to hear criminal cases with any public credibility. And I don't blame him. All right, so it goes on down at the very bottom to state that Denise Harlins, and by the way, this was her aunt who passed away in 2018, interrupted an award ceremony at the Biltmore Hotel for Du defense attorney Charles Lloyd. Carlin and Du's son also attended that ceremony. "All you people sitting applauding over a child killer," Harlins yelled. Latasha was defenseless. She didn't do nothing. Carlin was re-elected to the Superior Court bench. She then moved to Juvenile Dependency Court, a transfer she had requested before the Du case. "I have been honored to spend the last 20 years serving the public, but now I want to devote time to my family," Carlin wrote. Carlin resigned from the bench in 1997 upon hearing of retirement. Harlin's aunt Denise stated, "I'm glad to hear that she removed herself from the bench and that she retired, but she didn't belong on the bench anyways." All right, so again, you can check out more information. It's right here at the bottom. Just look at the reference. And I'm on the WikiOne website. So there's going to be a park renamed for Latasha Harris. This according to face-to-faceafrica.com. All right, and this was written in 2021, March 19th of 2021. It says on the 30th anniversary of the killing of Latasha Harlins over a bottle of orange juice, her family and community on Tuesday remember her at the Aglan Sutton Recreation Center playground, which is being renamed in her honor. This is a place where we call our sanctuary. Victor Akoff, Latasha's brother, you know, where we used to walk, play our sports here. This is something that's long overdue, and I think could be somewhat of a healing to the community. Harlan's uncle, David Bryant, added. All right, so going down here at the very bottom, it says, by the time the riots ended, over 50 people had lost their lives. More than 2,000 were also injured, while the city was left with $1 billion in damages, records showed. Here we are right now, 30 years after, and we have Breonna, we have Floyd, and we can do a roll call, right? The nation hasn't learned anything, Latasha's uncle Brian said. A mural was earlier this year dedicated to Harlins at the Sutton Recreation Center in South Central LA. A Netflix documentary, A Love Song for Latasha, about the life of Harlins, was recently nominated for an Academy Award. Today, Harlins is not only remembered for the 1992 LA riots, but in some of the tracks by legendary rapper Tupac Shakur. In fact, Tupac dedicated his song Keep Your Head Up to Harlins. All right, so you can find this on Face to Face Africa. That's the website. So I want to play a little video clip to you guys. It's called The Dope Years. It's the untold story of Latasha Harlins. So it's a documentary. It's not that long, but I'm going to play it.
I'm Shanice Harlins, and I'm from St. Louis, Illinois. She the older sister. She just had wisdom for her age.
Her death affected a lot of people in this area, especially the kids that knew her. Everything else died. My childhood had left.
"15-year-old Latasha Harlins was shot and killed by store owner Sue Jadu. Store security cameras captured the incident. Harlins repeatedly hits dude who takes a gun from under, killing the teenager. Members of the black community charged the shooting was racially motivated, but certain time. Dude's store was later firebombed.
Here's the situation from South Central. Drivers and automobiles and trucks that enter this area expect to, oh, look at that.
April 29th, 1992 was not the beginning of a riot. It was the beginning of an uprising, of a rebellion against oppression, against police brutality, against bull.
41 Korean businesses in South Central have been torched, dozens looted.
My name is Tyler. I don't know what people.
I'm Shanice Harlins, and I'm from St. Louis, Illinois. She the older sister. She just had wisdom for her age.
Her death affected a lot of people in this area, especially the kids that knew her. Everything else died. My childhood had left.
"15-year-old Latasha Harlins was shot and killed by store owner Sue Jadu. The store security cameras captured the incident on videotape as Harlins repeatedly hits Du, who takes a gun from under the counter. Du claims she accidentally pulled the trigger, killing the teenager. Members of the Black community charged the shooting was racially motivated. Du was convicted, but served no prison time. Du's store was later firebombed.
Here's the situation from South Central. Drivers and automobiles and trucks that enter this area expect to, oh, look at that.
April 29th, 1992 was not the beginning of a riot. It was the beginning of an uprising, of a rebellion against oppression, against police brutality, against bull.
41 Korean businesses in South Central have been torched, dozens looted.
My name is Tybio Bard. I'm from South Central Los Angeles. I don't know what people thought, but over here, that wasn't her first time pulling that gun out. Latasha wasn't the first kid to see that gun get pulled out on her. Soon as I do, she pulled that gun out on me with my mother outside of the store. This is where she stayed. Her, T, her grandmother. This is where she grew up, right here.
Myself and Latasha was born in 76. 85 and up was dope years. We just knew we was popping. You know what I mean? Like we'll get in a big old 5-gallon of bucket and put water and put mud in there, make mud pies and throw it on the wall and roast it off. You know? We was young.
All right, so that's all for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, watching, and thank you for subscribing to the channel and making sure that you're hitting the notification bell, sharing this channel, and all the great stuff. So, this coming week, you guys check me out on Rakeem Shabazz channel, which is called Wise TV Dome. I'll be doing an interview with him on Tuesday, March the 23rd at 8 p.m. on my time. So I'll be doing an interview with him. And you guys make sure you check out that channel, support that brother. He's doing great work. Shout out to the brother. His name is Rakeem Shabazz. Shout out to him. And thanks to Brother Zalani for having me on his platform as well, which is the Warrior Report News Network. I believe that's what it's called. So yeah, thank you for having me on there doing the interview as well. And again, thank you guys for the new subscriber for coming through, checking out the channel and sharing the channel, hitting the notification bell and all that great stuff. So to sum it all up, I hope this answered the question to what's going on as far as the Asian and the African American solidarity. I hope that answered a lot of people's question. If not, then I don't know what to tell you. And I'm not saying that they don't deal with any form of oppression, because they do. They don't deal with any form of discrimination, because they do. But do not put the blame on African Americans because of the fact that you're not getting enough support. It's not the African Americans community fault. That's my argument. Okay. So good afternoon to the person in the chat. Thank you for coming through. Until then, y'all take it easy. And until next time, I'll reconnect with you all. I may come back and do a video later. Hopefully, I can be able to do that. So I'll just keep you guys posted on that. All right, then. May peace and power be to all of you. And this your girl, Tiffany, and I'm out. Thank you.